Good morning to all of you. Welcome back to the Namaste experience. It is Wednesday, and we have an amazing, amazing family in front of us. And I'm so blessed. I feel so blessed this morning. I hope you're feeling the same, because we have joined together with a single intention. And that's all it takes. All it takes is a single intention to awaken and to remember that only love is real. Can it be any more simple than that? To remember that only love is real, and any so-called evidence to the contrary ain't a thing. And so as we not only proclaim this, but we choose to live into it. We live into the reality of love and harmony. We begin to see it everywhere, don't we? Even in places and relationships where a moment ago it didn't exist at all. Harmony. It's like tuning a guitar. If I had my guitar up here, I would tune it out of tune so you can hear that, and then we put it back in tune, and everything suddenly falls into place. So that's the only reason we are here, to allow this experience of love to overtake us. What a gift. But not only that experience of love, but also what we're going to call uninterrupted bliss. Imagine that. How many of you would vote for that if you had a choice? Uninterrupted bliss. Well, here's the deal. You do. And your vote just counted. You can have that at any moment because it is your most natural state. But we deny our most natural state. We deny the reality that is forever real, which is another way of describing you. But we can choose again. And joining together, coming together as we do, we're just making a new choice. And we may fall away from that choice. We may wander in our minds to a grievance or to some other reality or so-called reality, but we can always come back. And the more consistently we come back, the more consistent this experience becomes. Uninterrupted bliss. So knowing that this is an experience that we can have now, I want to share a little something that I wrote about this. So just drink this in, or maybe even imagine that it's incense in the air, and as you take each breath, you're breathing this into the deepest part of you. And as you do, something comes alive. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's just an acknowledgement. Yes, I feel this. I know this. I know that I've always known it, and yet somehow I turned away. But I can turn back. And in doing so, uninterrupted bliss can truly be yours. Even in the midst of struggle, even in the midst of problems that you have to work through, uninterrupted bliss can be yours. So let me share this. Your true state is one of absolute bliss, your true state. And this bliss can only be compromised or interrupted by your decision to not experience it. Oh, the first sentence is always the most important. Have you found that? Let me read it one more time. Your true state is one of absolute bliss. This is who you really are. And this bliss that you are can only be compromised or interrupted by your decision to not experience it. You have more power than you could have ever imagined. Imagine that if your true state is bliss itself, the reality, the actualization of bliss itself, and you have the choice to either choose or not. Now that you know that, wouldn't you just choose that? If you forgot that for a moment, it's very understandable. But now that you know, Now that you remember, you can make that choice. And you're supported by a community here. This is the beautiful thing about being at a place like Namaste Village or wherever you are, anywhere in the world. You can be supported. Even by tuning in on Zoom, you can feel this, the support of the mighty companions who are choosing alongside you. But why would you choose to ignore this natural state when it delivers such overwhelming joy? Why? One word: guilt. The G word. That's it. You believe it's easier to hide from your natural inheritance rather than look clearly at the source of the guilt you feel. You see, that's the one thing that we don't do. We don't look clearly right at it. We'll glance away. We won't focus to see, is this real? Is this true? Is there really something that has happened that has changed the unchangeable? And if it cannot change the unchangeable, and it has no effect, why do we put so much energy into guilt when we can let it go just like that? So once again, you believe it's easier to hide from your natural inheritance rather than look clearly at the source of the guilt you feel. The source is groundless because its foundation is untrue. The source of guilt is always groundless because the foundation is untrue. The idea that there's something that you could ever be guilty for, the idea that you could ever wander away from all that is. You can't wander away from all that is. That's just a simple truth. If all that is love, then uninterrupted bliss is yours. Once again, the source is groundless because the foundation is true. Guilt emerges from the thought that you have the power to compromise God's love for you, that you have the power to compromise the love of God. I hate to tell you this, but you don't. Maybe in your imagination, but we can do a lot of things in our imagination that have never truly been done. You cannot compromise the love of eternity. I mean, throw the G word out if you want. If the word God is too much for you, who cares? Use whatever word you want because it doesn't matter. But you know, somewhere inside, you know this reality because you could never be separated from it. Forever real. And when you realize that, then uninterrupted bliss is the only thing you will ever experience. So once again, the source is groundless because its foundation is untrue. Guilt emerges from the thought that you have the power to compromise God's love for you. You don't. It's pretty direct. The fact, or that fact, is your salvation. That realization is your salvation, but you do have the power of choice. You know that because you've chosen against it. And that's the reason why uninterrupted bliss is not a present experience, but you can choose again. You do have the power of choice, whether to experience God's unconditional love or to deny it. This is what free will is, but it's a choice that has no real effect. It's not a real choice because God's love is unchangeable, unalterable. It is forever what it is. You are loved exactly as you are. So stop choosing something that denies you what you really want. Stop choosing something that denies you what you really want. The absolute bliss that rests behind the tiny, thin barriers you erected to hide from love. Don't you love that? The tiny, thin membrane that you erected, thinking that it's the thickest brick wall in the whole world, but it's nothing. It's nothing. touch it and it dissolves. Look through it and see your true home. It's transparent. It's like the facade of an old Western movie set. You take one step through the door and you realize, holy mackerel, it was not a real world at all. It looked very real. There's an amazing art department in this world. I don't know if you know that. The art department here is just unqualified. It can do anything. You know, it reminds me of a story of a friend of mine in Toronto who told me how he was in the film business, and they shoot a lot of films and TV shows in Canada that are meant to be in the US. And this was a cop show, and they were going to be shooting one night in a downtown street, and they had to make it look like an American street. So of course they strewn garbage everywhere. The art department, I should say, this was not an arbitrary garbage throw. This was art directed. So the art department came in long before the rest of the crew came to, you know, place the garbage just in the right places so that it would look just perfect when they shot this scene. And they finished a couple of hours before the rest of the crew came. So they went on a break, maybe for an hour. Well, by the time they came back, guess what happened?
Oh, they came in and cleaned it up.
It was all cleaned. They didn't know that it was art directed. That's what happens in Canada, right? And that's what happens in your mind as well. You can art direct all you want, the chaos and the garbage that we put into our consciousness, but then the Canadian cleaning crew comes. Because you don't leave a mess in Canada. I don't know if it's still that way, but back then you just didn't do that. How simple is salvation? We had an unreal thought, and the instant we realized that it was not real, we experienced that unalterable bliss that is always ours. Let's take a deep breath and see if you can feel it right now. It is within you now. We simply have to choose to know, to feel, to realize, to see with our real eyes that which has always seen us, that which has always known us, that which has always loved us exactly as we are. So the story of guilt falls away now, replaced by this uninterrupted bliss that is ours now and forever. So we're going to turn now to our dear sister, Vicki, who's going to take us even higher. She's the queen of whipping things up, so we can take it even higher. Good morning, Vicki.
We're gonna whip it up. Here we go. Morning, everybody. So, you know, today, if any of you read the Daily Word, there was one line. Now I can't remember it exactly, but it says exactly what you're saying. In order to keep that total bliss, that state of happiness that's uninterrupted, all that we ever have to do is focus on one another's divinity instead of their humanity. And it said it so simply. I'm going to go back and read it later. But any of you that have Daily Word, you'll see it. And it's the perfect return spot to remember the truth and to choose happiness over the fascination we have with guilt. Because guilt, that magic word, is the cover up for all of us wanting to be right about something. You know, would you rather be right or happy? I'd rather be right. Oh, I want both. Isn't that what your daughter says? I want both. Yeah, absolutely. But the hidden agenda in wanting to be right is that we want something separate. We want to identify with something that might belong to us or that we think gives us happiness. It's the whole idea of self-will. That's all right is. I want my way. I want my will. And that's the cover. And then guilt is what covers that up. But when we realize, oh my gosh, I might as well want God's will. It's a lot more fun all the time. And everybody wins. Why not? Then it's a little more palatable to say, okay, I'm going to look at my brother's divinity instead of his humanity. I'm going to choose that because while we're in perception, it is a choice. We can choose to see the costume and the script, and we can look at the set and think that it's real. But if we want to be happy, really happy consistently, if we recognize it for what it is, we can enjoy the set, but it doesn't mean we're identified or dependent on the set, on our set, on anybody else's set. It's just a play set. It's just another game of time and space, make believe. Let's do it here, let's do it there. And being right about specifics makes us wrong about who we are. And happiness depends on accepting who we are. And when we come together to accept, that's our only purpose. We come together, and as we join together, it's easier and it seems safer and it seems more reasonable. Okay, let's just accept that we are divinity, that is our nature, naturally. We are created by love, for love, to give love. And that will answer every problem in this seeming perceptual world. And because the laws of time and space don't necessarily uphold that, we need to join together in order to let it become our experience, to see that indeed the law of love is upheld and is a higher law than the laws of time and perception, and that we are delivered through love, but only directly experientially. So we have to have the strength, and joining together, for me, I know it's just easier to hold hands again and join together and believe what time was set up not to believe in. Time was set up in space to not believe in the power of love. So it takes a little doing and a little desire for the truth to be true and to be our own direct experience. So what is the line? What isn't love isn't. It just, it appears to be, and it's a great set, but it's a facade, and you can walk right through it into an everlasting space that is what we are: natural light, natural joy, our natural divinity. That's what we are. We focus on that, on one another, instead of on our own or our brother's humanity, then all of our separate ideas about being right and what we think we want can fall away for the greater experience of knowing that love brings us the greatest happiness beyond any of our special little interests. We all have special interests. So let love carry us through. And that's our choice. And it's a lot more fun when we do it together. A lot more fun and a lot easier. Thank you, everyone. I love you, James. Love you, everyone.
Love you, Vicky. And you're right, it's so much more fun when we come together and we join in this. We dissolve into it together, into that ocean of bliss, uninterrupted bliss. Isn't that what we really want? And to know that it's accessible. We can have it if we choose. Thank you so much, Vicky. That was so beautiful. Now we have to go live it. Now we have to go out and make the choice consistently. And when we feel the world grab a hold of us and say, no, you don't, come back here, pulling us back. And one of my, well, I was going to say one of my favorite movies, but no, this is Godfather 3. Godfather 1 and Godfather 2 are my favorite movies. But in Godfather 3, Michael Corleone says, just when I think I'm out, they pull me back. That's the ego. That's the world. It's always trying to pull you back, keep you here, because for you to fly would challenge everything. But it's time. This is the moment that you chose to fly. So spread your wings. You can do it any moment you want. Uninterrupted bliss can be yours. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How simple is salvation? So have an amazing day. Go out there and practice this. Don't just let these be nice words you hear in the morning, then you go back to the old grievances that are like weights around your ankles. Why would you do that when you know how clear and how simple this is? Choose only love, for that is what you are. And when those other thoughts and situations and however they appear arise, just remember this: uninterrupted bliss can be yours if you choose. So namaste. Namaste. Have an amazing day, everyone. We love you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Happy Wednesday.
Namaste.
Yes.
Sure.
Namaste, everybody.